Hey guys, this is Ray with Double R Diesel. Welcome to the shop. And as you can see today, we've got our 2025 Ram 2500 Rebel here on the chassis dyno. It's got the new ZF Powerline 8-speed transmission, as you're aware of, and the new updated 6.7 liter Cummins. And we decided today to go ahead and finally do a baseline pull on our chassis dyno. Truck's bone stock. Obviously, there's no performance mods that we can do to it officially yet, but we are anticipating some things coming here shortly. And I wanted to go ahead and get it on the chassis dyno and make a few pulls. Now, I will tell you that I had a little bit of a learning curve here on the chassis dyno. This new ZF8 speed kind of has a mind of its own, and you have to be able, long story short, I had to be able to recognize what mode it was in, not necessarily how I had it set in the dash. I tried both tow haul and non-tow haul mode, but you can kind of recognize based upon how the transmission reacted that it was in a certain mode. And when it's in a certain mode, it'll dyno fine. If it's not, it'll unlock the converter when you're trying to do a 6-gear pull, and it won't give you any kind of number whatsoever. But figured it out, made some pulls. Let me show you how it did. Follow me, cameraman. So got 3 dyno pulls here, and I played around with load percentage. So the first one was with 50% load. I've got a Dyno Jet 224 with load control, and the first one was with 50% load. I decided to increase it to 60% load. It made more power, a lot more torque. Then I decided to try 70% load, and it really didn't make much difference. But I was looking at repeatability in the dyno pulls, the dyno graphs to see where we were at. So I can pretty much say that on my dyno, these are SAE credit numbers, by the way. It's making somewhere around 377 wheel horsepower, somewhere around 849 foot-pounds of torque. Peak power come in around 2600 RPMs. Torque come in around 2200 RPMs. And you can definitely tell that it lays over after 2800 RPMs, and that's where it starts pulling. And that's kind of where things have been at with stock trucks all over the years. These numbers here are not as high as some others that have been posted on social media, but this is consistent from what I've seen with some older trucks, bone stock older trucks on my dyno, particularly the high output ASIN trucks from the 19 through 24 variety. So we're right on line. This is about what I expected. So where are we at? Where are we going? So let's talk about it. Right now, there's no way to actually get into the power control module on these trucks, much less the transmission control module, and officially tune these things. I think that eventually it will come. It's going to take some proprietary information being found out in order to get in past the security and actually tune these things. But what is coming is what we've seen in prior generations, and that is a pressure control module. Edge has got their new EasyX module that they're beta testing right now. If you've watched anything on social media, you've seen Levon Miller post up a video from Firepunk Diesel where he run his 25 on his chassis dyno with the new Edge Easy module. And all it does is basically fool the ECM into increasing fuel rail pressure. It's simple. It's kind of crude. You don't have a lot of fine tuning going at it that way, but it works. So, in a nutshell, when you increase fuel rail pressure, depending on how the ECM interprets the data, it's going to do one or two things or a combination of one or two things. It's either going to actually inject more fuel per commanded quantity of fuel on your power stroke of your engine. Say, for example, the ECM might be commanding, I don't know, let's just say 175 MM3 of fuel. And by raising the fuel pressure, even though it's only commanding 175, it might be injecting, as much as 200. So it could be getting around it that way. Also, what else could be happening with a pressure control module? Again, it depends on how the ECM interprets the data and what it does. Anytime you raise rail pressure, fuel pressure, If it follows the pulse width map, when pressure increases, it decreases the pulse width. Okay, and when it decreases the pulse width, it's doing so in an effort to maintain a given commanded quantity of fuel, regardless of the fuel pressure. So when it reduces pulse width, or the amount of time that the injector is open spraying fuel, and nothing else changes, then it's effectively increasing timing because you are shortening the amount of time that that fuel injector is open. It's also injecting the fuel at a higher pressure, which gives more atomization, and that fuel charge will actually ignite and burn quicker. So it's the same effect of adding timing. So that's why increasing fuel pressure with a module like the EZX will create more power. So it's getting fuel in there at a higher rate, possibly, and it's also mimicking adding timing advance and better atomization of fuel. Now, I will tell you that those systems, when it raises the pressure high enough, you'll get more injection noise. And also the downfall of those type systems, you can't really fine tune it, but so well. So, things might get it. The truck may operate a little funky, on the higher settings, but that's really interesting that they've already been able to make it work. Um, I've actually reached out to Edge myself. I'm gonna see if I can get my hands on one. It's gonna be interesting to see what other tuner manufacturers may or may not do with regards to doing something like this, because right now we can't reprogram an ECM or a TCM. So what we're forced to do is work around what the ECM and the factory tune is commanding. So guys, it's that's where we're at, and I'm looking forward to see what we can do. There's more than one way to skin a cat, as the proverbial saying goes, and we're just going to have to go about it a different way right now until we can actually tune these trucks. But I'm very hopeful that we can perfect these new modules that basically fool systems on the ECM and have it so that we have better control doing that, which will make a better tune. So stay tuned, guys, for that. When I get my hands on one of these modules, I'll install it on my truck and we'll strap it back down on the dyno and see how it performs. But as always, guys, thank you for following along. God bless each and every one of you, and we will see you again soon.